The hero received an unexpected slap on the back. That person was Chen Yinan. He asked Qianye if he couldn't wait for his friend after school. The guy reminded me that he was going to his mom's hospital. The blonde man remembered this. He offered to take him to his aunt. Qianye accepted the offer, but added that before that, he needed to go to the bank to withdraw money to pay for the treatment. Students were leaving the school grounds. Chen Yinan asked how his mother was doing. The hero replied that she had death-sleep syndrome, and he confessed that there was little hope that she would wake up. A friend asked if this was the same disease that had recently broken out all over the world, and in which people fall into eternal sleep. Qianye replied positively, but he still believed that she would wake up. The blonde man said he was going to the bathroom and left the hero near the bank. Qianye entered the building and went to the window. He wanted to withdraw $6,000 at the cash register. While the operation was underway, a suspicious hooded man entered the bank. He carefully approached the guy and took out a weapon from the pocket of his hoodie. The criminal pointed a gun at the hero and announced that this was a robbery. The man demanded from the bank employee that she give him $1 million right now. The girl was trembling and crying. He took Qianye hostage and held a gun to his head, saying that he would shoot if the staff delayed with the money. There was a man behind the criminal, ready to hit him. Chen Yinan knocked out the man with a fire extinguisher. Seeing how the attacker fell unconscious, the hero sighed, as if his friend had caused problems for the bank. The blonde reminded him that he had just saved him. Qianye explained that if the criminal had received his $1 million, he would have left immediately, and there was no need to risk his life for this. Chen Yinan laughed and said he understood. The blonde man was shot right in the head in front of his friend. He fell dead. Qianye shouted the guy's name. The hero looked at the one who did it. It turned out that the criminal had an accomplice. The man was armed with a shotgun and demanded his friend hurry up. Qianye accepted that the situation was very bad. He saw the gun that the robber had dropped and rushed towards him, dodging the shotgun bullets at the same time. The hero managed to raise his weapon and point it at the killer. Unfortunately, both managed to make a shot and hit each other. Qianye was shot in the stomach, and the man was shot in the head. The guy fell to the floor. His tears were streaming down his cheeks. Slowly, his vision blurred. He felt cold. His body seemed to be sinking. A dark depth surrounded him. Qianye saw himself drowning in the water and pulled his hands to the top. It was strange for him, because he had just been to the bank to pay for his hospitalization. If he doesn't make the payment, Mom will be kicked out of the hospital. If he dies, then his family won't be able to survive. Qianye didn't want to die. His body started to wallow in the water, because he can't die like that. His family needs him. A voice spoke to him. He told the hero that he would be given a second life, and ordered him to fight and prove his worth. The guy woke up on the ground. He was welcomed into the kingdom of eternity. Qianye was in another world where it was night. Chen Yinan called him. He asked where they were. The blonde was cold and gloomy in this place. The hero assumed that this was hell. The voice of the system spoke to them. She welcomed them to the kingdom of eternity. She was sorry that the earthly life of the heroes was over, but she added that they were lucky because they were able to get the opportunity to pass the test. My friends had watches on their wrists that dug into their skin. Qianye, looking at the hand, said that somewhere he had heard about the kingdom of eternity. Chen Yinan was angry because he did not understand what kind of trial he was talking about. The voice replied that they would choose their own reward if they passed the test. The blonde man tried to take off his watch, but it didn't work. The system listed possible rewards: strengthening the watch, requesting and returning soul fragments, returning to the mortal world, etc. The heroes were excited by the thought that they could return home. They were told that after passing the initial test, they would be granted 2 divine hours. The system wished you success in prolonging your longevity. Qianye looked at his watch and asked what the drop-down menu was. Chen Yinan saw something and called his friend. He asked if it was the hero's sister standing on the cliff near the waterfall. Chen Yinan wanted to check, but he was stopped. The blonde did not understand why his friend was waiting, because his sister was there. Qianye said that Duo, his sister, couldn't be in the eternal realm because she was still in school. Chen Yen replied that this was the reason for his check. The hero added that nothing dangerous could have happened to Kanduo, because he had recently communicated with her, and it was very safe at school. Qianye had a strange feeling when he looked at the girl. She gave off an indescribable sense of contradiction, so she couldn't be his sister. The girl jumped off the breakaway down into the water. Chen Yinan insisted on finding out who she was. He said that even if it wasn't a duo, it should be related to the initial test that the watch was talking about. Qianye warned his friend to be careful, as he did not think that the test would be easy. They approached the waterfall, and began to look for clues in its water. The blonde noticed that there was no entrance under the waterfall, and it was strange. The hero suggested that it might be an illusion. Chen Yinan thought about his words and began to understand what was going on. A girl emerged from the waterfall behind him. He turned abruptly to the fake sister duo. Not noticing the huge monster that controlled the girl with his long outgrowth from his head, the blonde ran to a friend's relative. Qianye shouted to draw attention to the monster from above, but the monster had already set its sights and grabbed its prey in the water. A wave of water knocked down the hero. The teeth were clenching the body of Chen Yinan, who was still alive. He saw how Qianye reached out to him and wanted to help him, but his eyes were already closing. The girl at the end of the outgrowth disappeared. The blonde man, with the last of his strength, wanted to tell his friend not to try, to do something, and leave faster. The monster's mouth opened and swallowed the guy, simultaneously chopping off his hand with big teeth. Blood flew at Qianye. He realized that the kingdom of eternity is the very hell. The voice notified that player Chen Yinan had failed the pre-selection and was declared dead. Friends' commemorations were held in the kingdom of the dead. People were grieving their loss. The sprinkler said that during the armed robbery, they bravely fought the criminals and sacrificed their lives. Sister Duo was crying. Her uncle tried to calm her down, taking responsibility for himself. The morning speaker said that the deceased were like heroes, saved people, and protected their property. He asked us to pray together for the peace of the deceased. The system warned the hero that his earthly body would soon be cremated, and if he lost his physical form, then Qianye would not be able to return to the mortal world, and then he would die completely. She asked to complete her mission as soon as possible. The main goal is to kill the dark bat ghost, after which he will receive additional years of life and return to the mortal world. And judging by the previous procedures of the Shame Bureau, Qianye had less than 10 minutes left. Someone was calling the hero. The monster in front of him was licking his lips. They asked him to run faster. Qianye froze. He recognized Chen Yinan's voice, which urged him to run away. The bat opened its mouth and tried to eat the guy. However, his teeth only tore his clothes. Qianye thought that perhaps the monster, after eating its prey, acquires its consciousness. The hero had to find his weak spot urgently. He thought about his outgrowth and his glowing organ, which could create illusions to lure. The ghost attacked him and hit the water. As the hero managed to jump and grab the outgrowth, he was able to climb on top of the monster's head to the base of its organ. Qianye furiously pulled him, demanding to spit out his friend. He pulled out an outgrowth. The monster screamed. Blood was spurting out of the hole. The monster dropped dead. The task was completed. An unrefined fragment of a dark ghost was obtained. The hero was asked if he wanted to return to the mortal world. The guy mentally confirmed that he wanted to go back. The operation has started to be performed. Qianye had already teleported and asked where Chen Yinan was, to which the system replied that he had failed the preliminary test, so he was declared dead. The hero screamed if he was being bullied. The guy stood up abruptly, saying his friend's name. The coffin lid fell off. In the mortal world, Qianye was lying in a coffin. Upon seeing the living dead, those present had shock, fright, and misunderstanding. People ran away from the supposed ghost in fear. Only Sister Duo ran to her brother and hugged him. She was crying, but she was glad that Qianye had woken up. The girl thought she would never see him again. She asked me not to scare her like that anymore. Confused, Qianye looked at the nearby coffin, where Chen Yinan was lying, who would no longer wake up. Evening came. The hero was already standing on the balcony of his house and felt reality like a dream. But he knew it wasn't a dream, because he saw the watch on his wrist. The guy tried to talk to them, but got no response. The clock showed 11 o'clock. What surprised the hero? However, the countdown suddenly started. Qianye didn't know what it meant or what it was leading to. The balcony railing that the guy was leaning on broke. He started falling down. The hero did not understand how this could happen. When he was already near the ground, the thought came to Qianye that the countdown meant that his death was approaching. He returned to the realm of eternity, where he was greeted by the clock. While the hero was recovering, he did not notice the tornado that was near him. Qianye was thrown into the temple, across its entire territory. The guy had a wound on his arm. He didn't know what was going on. In front of him was a white origami figure. The monster tried to attack the guy right away, but he was able to dodge. He didn't have time to think. The watch reminded me that for safety during battles with dark ghosts, it is best to use a divine mask. Qianye had never heard of this before. Origami released its flaps and sent them towards the enemy. Dodging the attacks, the hero remembered that he had received a reward for the preliminary test, and it could have been a mask, but he never saw it. Qianye asked the system how he could use the attribute. He was told that he should put it on his face, which was logical. The monster was able to injure the guy's leg. He fell down. The strips of paper headed in his direction. But the girl saved Qianye by cutting the paper with her weapon. The origami monster screamed. He said that now the offender was finished. The paper surrounded the heroes. The girl put her finger to her mouth and hissed. The stripes stopped right in front of the warrior's face. The hero was surprised by this. The girl rushed towards the oncoming monster. She cut it in half. Qianye admired in his mind how the monster was cut up with a single blow. The girl greeted the guy, who awkwardly replied. He thanked her for saving him and wanted to ask her, but she interrupted and said that she didn't have time to talk and the hero had to run away quickly. The girl explained that there are two types of origami. The one she defeated was a powerhouse. The next one is invisible but weak. She added that the task would be completed only after she killed both of them. The savior told him to stay away from her in any case. Qianye replied that it would be safer if they stayed together. The girl said he only thought so. She explained that everyone who enters the realm of eternity gets a task, and as their abilities grow, the tasks will only get more complicated. The guy was seriously asked if he understood this. She came here to kill her target, and he just got lucky. The girl told the hero to leave, because the monster she would have to face was much stronger than the origami he had just encountered. In the end, Qianye left. He walked near the grove of wheat, mentally agreeing with the words of the savior. But at the same time, the guy felt weak. He was wondering how he could find the invisible origami in such a huge place. The rock behind him shook. The lightning was in her stones. After hearing the explosion, Qianye assumed that he might be near the ruined temple he had just left. The girl's body hit the hero. She had wounds. The guy tried to bring her back to consciousness, asking her what had happened. The girl opened her eyes and slowly told him to leave as quickly as possible. But a monster was already standing over them. The scarecrow monster turned to Faye's sister. Noticing him, Qianye picked up the girl and ran away when the monster tried to hit them. The hero cursed the fast enemy that suddenly appeared near them. The girl asked where the guy's mask was and muttered that he should put it on, because this was the last chance. The monster aimed and loaded its cannon. The guy was able to dodge the shot, and the savior shouted at him to use the drop-down menu faster and take his mask. At that moment, Qianye noticed him. He understood how the system worked and started scrolling quickly. The hero found the mask icon and clicked. The system has notified that it will take some time to extract the true data of the divine body. It was already 80% loaded. However, the monster was already nearby. The girl used booze, and the monster stopped. At that moment, the download was completed, and the hero was able to put on the mask, rest in the Hades River. There was a powerful explosion that hit the frozen scarecrow. Qianye managed to draw his weapon and attack the enemy. He swung his sword and sliced through the monster. His blade radiated a force that blew off half of the enemy's torso. The girl was surprised by the power of the blow, because she knew that the monster was at least B rank, and the guy was a novice. She blushed and got off the hero's hands. The girl coughed and said she would thank him when they met in the mortal world. After completing the task, she began to teleport. The girl told him that an invisible origami was hiding in a corner of the temple. The guy wanted to stop her, but she said they would meet soon. A few days later, late at night, Qianye was dozing in the library when someone called him. The impatient girl hit the table where the hero was sleeping. He woke up in surprise and screamed. The students said they were going back to the dorm and asked if he wouldn't go with them. Qianye replied that he still had a lot of drawings to work on. He said goodbye to his classmates. The guy looked at his watch. He reflected that he had been given more time in the mortal world this time, and perhaps it was because of a strong enemy. However, he only had an hour left. At that moment, the hero received a message that he was urgently called to the student union. He was surprised by this, because it was already 10 p.m. Qianye decided to go straight to the office of the student union, as he did not want his members to find his body. The controller hoped that the meeting would be quick. He went to the door and knocked. The guy opened the door and apologized. There he saw the girl he had fought with in the realm of eternity. The hero asked her why she was here, to which the girl replied that it was natural for her, as the president of the student union, to be in the office. Qianye was very surprised by what he heard. The girl added that she has known him since he became a supervisor, and as a representative, she attended their funeral, although she slipped away at the end during the chaos. The guy realized that she had known him for a long time. The president said that she knew that the Kingdom of Eternity had chosen him, but yesterday's meeting was just a coincidence. He asked about his friend. She replied that Chen Yinan's body had been cremated and it was impossible to return it without a body. The girl asked him not to blame himself, because no one could save his friend. Someone who couldn't even pass the preliminary test has no right to continue fighting, and such weaklings die sooner or later. The girl's words touched the hero. He grabbed her by the collar and demanded to show respect to his dead friend. The guy's saliva accidentally got on the president's face. She grabbed him by the throat. Qianye was pinned to the table, with a girl hovering over him. With a serious look, she reminded him not to spit in the other person's face. The president said that Chen Yinan's death was ultimately due to their incompetence, and she had nothing to do with it, that a hero should show respect, because she calmly answered his questions out of gratitude for saving her life. Qianye chuckled and asked if she really considered it a thank you. The girl looked into his eyes and asked what was wrong with it. As she approached, she told him in his ear that this was just the beginning. The guy blushed, stunned by the actions of the older one, whose name he didn't even know. He reminded her of this and said it was inappropriate. The president took out a pistol and pointed it at the hero's head. She fired. Qianye shouted and stood up. He was no longer sitting on the table, but on the sand, in the realm of eternity. The girl began to tell the rules. First, regardless of the situation, the first thing to do when entering the realm is to put on a mask and be alert. A guy has no right to be late putting on a mask. As Qianye listened to her and came to his senses, a fireball was already flying towards them. The older one fought off the attack and ended up saying that if she didn't put on the mask in time, it would bring herself one step closer to death. A winged creature with a long neck flew over them. Looking at him, the president asked the hero how many dark ghosts he had killed. Qianye put on a mask and replied that there were 3 of them: a batfish, 1 humanoid monster, and 1 invisible origami. The flying monster pounced on the girl. Before shushing, she advised the guy to check the backpack, because there should be fragments that fell from the defeated ghosts. The bird monster fell after the elder used her ability. Meanwhile, the young man had already managed to find the attributes in the window. He pulled them out, and the older one told him to eat them. Qianye asked again. The president herself stuffed the fragments into his mouth, saying if she says eat, then he should eat them. The hero coughed in surprise and fell to his knees. The girl explained that by eating the fragments of each dark ghost, he increases the amount of experience points, and this is the only way to level up. The older one added that he still had some skills to discover and advised him to try them. Qianye's level rose to 4, and after the advice he unlocked the soul challenge. He used a fragment of the dark ghost batfish. Like a fish, Qianye has a process on his head, at the end of which his double appeared. The girl noticed that his skill was to use the abilities of the dark ghosts he had killed. Behind her, a powerful ray struck the ground from the sky. A silhouette with a hat appeared in it. That was the president's goal. The girl told the guy that she would interfere with her opponent's movement, and in the meantime he would find a way to kill him. The monster ran at the heroes. The older one used her ability and hissed. The monster managed to cover itself with its hands before Qianye attacked. But even with his powerful and sharp sword, he couldn't cut the monster. Suddenly, the hero was grabbed by his clothes. The girl threw him back and approached the target. The monster had already started moving and was swinging its arms to strike. With her weapon, the elder cut his hands to pieces. The next blow went along the monster's body, cutting it in half. The girl told the guy to look at the status of his mask. Opening the information window, he began to read the description. Mask, rest on the Hades River, F rank, strength B, speed C. But the president interrupted him. She didn't understand how he managed to defeat the faceless one with such low stats in one blow. The president suggested that it was an accident. The flying monster appeared behind her and screamed, drawing attention to itself. The girl apologized for forgetting about him. She ordered Qianye to destroy the ghost. The guy immediately jumped and wanted to strike the monster in the air with his sword, which was preparing to attack with its fireball. Watching the battle, the president noticed that it was hard for him to fight an F-rank firebird and the mask of a hero of the same rank. She began to reassure herself that the previous fight with a strong monster was just an accident. During Qianye's attacks, something caught her attention. The fire had no effect on the guy, so he used the illusory ability of the batfish. For the monster, his opponent suddenly disappeared. The hero used origami invisibility. He was behind the monster. Qianye aimed his sword at him using the faceless one's laser cannon. The tip gathered energy for the shot. However, it wasn't enough. It was as if the sword had burned out and couldn't fire. Even the firebird did not understand this. The cannon did not work, and the monster, without wasting a minute, was going to attack with his fire. The girl came to the rescue and released the monster's head with one blow. Qianye thanked the elder. The bird's headless body collapsed. The president thought that despite the low attributes, with every dark ghost killed, the guy gets eternal abilities. They teleported away. The girl woke up in the mortal world. She was lying on top of a guy who was asking her to get down because her breasts were very close to his face. She slapped him in the face and said that he could contact her if he had any questions and if he wanted to unite. Finally, the scary one introduced herself as Chen Fei. Hey. The poor guy was rubbing his red cheek. They shook hands. At parting, Qianye said that he would rely on her. A classmate of the hero was watching them through a crack in the door. Chen Fei noticed that they were being watched and asked who was behind the door. Chen Yuanyu greeted him and apologized for bothering him. They asked her what she was doing here. Qianye introduced the girl to the eldest as the deputy head of their class. The girl greeted the president. The elder aggressively asked what the student was doing so late at the student union office. Chen Yuanyu quickly replied that she went to get the homeroom teacher, who was called at such a busy time, and thought she could do something to help. She assured that she would not tell anyone that she and the hero were dating and had not seen anything at all. Chen Fei and Qianye blushed. The president slapped the guy hard on the back of the head and said they weren't dating. The hero did not understand why he was hit. The deputy head asked them with a smile not to worry so much, because she wasn't going to tell anyone about it. A large, ghostly hand appeared behind her, reaching for the unsuspecting girl. She grabbed her soul, and the student's body collapsed to the floor. Qianye picked up the deputy and asked what was going on. Chen Fei noticed that the girl's breathing and heartbeat were slow. Her body temperature dropped sharply, and she lost consciousness. The president concluded that it looked like dead sleep syndrome. Chen Yuanyu's soul disappeared behind the door, as if it had been pulled by someone. The eldest told him to forget about his body and chase after his soul. The heroes ran after her. Qianye asked me to explain what dead sleep syndrome is. Chen Fei replied that it was a phenomenon where a person's soul was consumed by dark ghosts. The guy was surprised by what he heard and asked how dark ghosts from the kingdom of eternity could end up in the mortal world. The girl said that some of them are able to move between worlds through portals. She and her companions recently destroyed 2 such portals. The president added that ghosts, just like them, can become stronger by eating human souls instead of fragments. People whose souls have been eaten will suffer from dead sleep syndrome. Qianye asked if there was even a way to treat such a phenomenon. The elder replied positively and explained that to do this, you need to kill the ghost that ate the human soul and get soul fragments from it. If you give them to the victim, it will cure the syndrome. The hero stopped abruptly after hearing this. The girl asked what was the matter. The guy clarified with her that if he kills the dark ghost that ate his mother's soul, he will be able to cure her. Chen Fei said that if he could find the one who ate her soul among the hundreds of millions of dark ghosts, then it was possible. Because of the conversations, they had missed Chen Yuanyu's soul. She ordered the hero to go back to the staff room while she continued to die in the hallway. Qianye obeyed. The president reminded him to prepare a mask because it could be needed at any time. While he was running to the office, Qianye saw the soul and got caught behind it. The hero was determined to catch her. She followed her around the corner. However, the door opened abruptly in front of him, and the student bumped into it. He fell down, rubbing his head. A man whom Qianye knew came out into the corridor. It was teacher Chen Peng. The hero asked the teacher what he was doing here, but received a counter question. The teacher asked why the student was still in the academic building. The controller replied that the deputy head of their class had suddenly fainted, and he suspected that it was a dead dream. Chen Peng questioned the diagnosis made by the architecture student. He asked why he was so sure about this. The guy got angry and said that it didn't matter now, because what mattered was that Chen Yuanyu had fainted. The teacher reminded the hero that all unforeseen situations at school should first be reported to the school administration and then to the parents to resolve the situation, so he should not run down the hall and shout about the problem. The guy was furious. He grabbed the teacher's tie and asked if he thought that formalities were more important than a student's life. Chen Peng replied indifferently that he was not concerned with Chen Yuanyu's life and death. His duty as a teacher is to help the school solve such issues. He ordered the hero to let him go and return to the dormitory. Qianye punched the man in the face. The teacher wiped the place of the blow and sighed, calling the guy stupid. He added that violent actions against a teacher would leave a stain on his life. The hero was sitting on the street near the school. Chen Fei came up to him and asked if he had missed his soul. The girl received an affirmative answer. She sat down next to me and said that the situation only confirms that there really is a dark ghost in the school. The guy asked if it was true. The senior explained that since May last year, the number of students suffering from sleep deprivation has increased in their school, and today this is the 90th case. After hearing such a figure, Qianye was surprised that he hadn't thought of it before. Faye said that the school decides this privately with the victim's family, but no one knows about it. Students who are familiar with the victims are offered conditions such as guaranteed scholarships and huge amounts of money. The president's words reminded me of what teacher Chen had said. The girl added that this does not mean that there is no evidence. Dark ghosts usually choose fragile souls to attack, so the targets are scattered and will only be attacked when they are alone. Faye thought about it and said that all 90 cases were related to students, and it was strange. She had a feeling that there was a protective umbrella against dark ghosts in the school. It shocked the guy. He stood up abruptly, and the president asked if he knew anything. Qianye asked the elder if she knew teacher Chen. The characters are driving in a car on the road. The guy asks the girl where they are going. She replied that they should urgently report the information he had said. Qianye asked who they were going to report to. Sister Faye said that they weren't the only ones chosen by the Kingdom of Eternity. In order to survive the endless battle with the dark ghosts, people form teams. Now she wants to introduce the hero of one of these hunting teams, the Black Eagle. The driver was also a member of the team, and the president of the student union introduced him as Song Jiguang. The man asked me to call him Old Song. He explained that the Black Eagle is the largest and most well-organized team in the country, and at this scale, the death rate is only a few percent. If Qianye joined the Black Eagle, he would definitely be safe. The eldest clarified that you can't just join the team. A colleague agreed with her. No one can join them without the captain's permission. They arrived at the group's building. When they came in, Faye advised him not to talk nonsense and to answer only when asked. The girl went first and opened the doors to the office. The team members were already waiting for them. The leader of Qianye, wearing an S-rank mask, greeted the Black Eagle blade. Then later he noticed Qianye, who was a stranger to him. As it turned out, Faye was the deputy leader. They started their report. The guys reported everything to the team members. Qianye noticed that the guy wanted to add something. The hero expressed his desire to join the ranks of the Black Eagle. Faye hadn't expected to hear that. The leader asked the deputy which god his mask belonged to and what its rank was. The eldest reported the characteristics: the Lord of Hell of rank F. Qianye asked if this was the mask that caused the user to die every time. He assumed that even if he made an exception and allowed him to join, what could Ye possibly do with a mask of such a low rank? The leader said that the Kingdom of Eternity is not a playground, because life and death are important there, so the team members are comrades who fully trust each other. Qianye asked who would dare to entrust their life to an F-rank user. The hero replied that everyone's rank was low when they first started, and assured that he would work hard to raise it. The leader said that the mask's rank increases after accumulating 100 levels, and asked how the guy was going to catch up with the mask holders of B and C ranks. Later, Qianye reassured the student. He will give him a task, and after that, everything will be decided. Faye wanted to challenge the task, because there are more than 90 human lives in the hands of the Dark Ghost, and, probably, he can communicate and cooperate with people, so sending the hero alone means sending him to his death. The leader stood up and said that he did not expect such sensitivity from the blade. He offered to ask the rest of the Black Eagle members which of them was willing to entrust their lives to F rank, and if everyone agreed, he wouldn't dare stop him. Qianye recalled that fighting ghosts is a life-threatening risk. The leader pointed to his words in the report about the importance of life, and asked if the life of everyone present here does not matter. He said that there are comrades here who can trust their backs to each other, so why doesn't the student ask them who dares to trust their backs to him? Qianye decided to go alone. He wants to kill the dark ghost that devours his mother's soul and save her from the dead sleep syndrome, so he decided to join the Black Eagle. Faye said she would go with him. Qianye was unhappy. He reminded her that she was the blade of their group, the deputy leader, and the wearer of an A-rank mask. While helping others, she should not forget about her mission. The girl said that watching her friend being sent to his death and standing still was not her task. The heroes came to the hospital to see Chen Yuan. Sister Faye thought that Qianye had acted rashly, because now they might have problems. The guy said that he had no choice, because alone he would not be able to find the ghost that terrorizes his mother. The president asked if he knew how strong the ghost was. The student replied that he had no idea. She then explained that ghosts are ranked from high SS rank to low F rank, just like masks. The talent and strength of each level are different. The higher the rank of a ghost, the more human-like it is. The dark ghosts that a girl usually encounters were about the same rank, such as faceless and four-armed, and her mask was A rank, so she could easily deal with them. The hero reminded her that the faceless monster was still able to beat the elder badly. Faye's sister got angry and hit him on the head, and the guy called her angry. The president justified herself by saying that she had received a direct hit from a monster cannon. She said that if this dark ghost collaborates with people, then he must be able to communicate verbally with them, which means that he looks more like a human than any other ghost they've encountered before. Their target definitely has a higher rank than the previous opponents they fought. The girl suggested that he might have A, S, or even SS, and even if they combined, it would still be dangerous. Qianye said that they had no choice. He asked if she knew anything about Chen Yuanyu. Fei remembered that she only saw her at sports competitions. The student's parents died, and from an early age she lived with her grandmother, who was seriously ill, so she worked to make ends meet. Right now, the poor girl was still unconscious. The hero said that his life wasn't much different. He hadn't seen his father since birth, and he worked part-time to provide for his family and to treat his mother, who had fallen into a dead sleep. Fighting for his life is all he has, and he won't let anyone take it away. Not even the Lord of Hell himself. Sister Fei did not understand, and said that he was the Lord of Hell because he had the appropriate mask. The guy asked not to tease him, and asked what kind of mask she owns. The girl replied that it was the mask of the A-rank Silence of Regret of the God of Wisdom. Its main ability is to momentarily plunge the target into a state of mental confusion, thereby achieving the effect of stopping its action. Qianye compared this skill to controlling time stopping. The president added that she can only control a ghost of the same rank for 1 to 2 seconds, and it requires a lot of strength. The girl wanted to continue, but stopped. She saw teacher Chen Pang in the hallway. The heroes decided to follow him to find out what the man was doing in the hospital. The teacher entered the room, where the doctor informed him that his wife's condition was quite stable, so he might not visit her every day. Chen Pan said he knew about it and dismissed the doctor. Meanwhile, the students were eavesdropping on their conversation. The doctor reminded the patient's husband that since the onset of dead sleep syndrome, millions of cases have been reported worldwide, and none have been successfully resolved. Now they can only maintain her vegetative state. The teacher said that it was not boring for him to talk about it, and he would not pay any money if the doctor hinted at any payments. He then asked him to leave, which the hospital employee did. Qianye asked Fei if Chen Pan's wife had dead sleep syndrome, to which the girl replied that it seemed to be the truth. However, the hero did not see the point, because despite the similar illness of the teacher's wife and Chen Yuan, the man coldly treated the student. The president thought about it and came to the assumption that Chen Peng was forced to cooperate with the dark ghost in order to save his wife. She was distracted from her thoughts by a passerby who bumped into her in the hallway. She apologized. The stranger asked if she could see him, because ordinary people couldn't see him. The heroes realized that there was a dark ghost in front of them. They didn't expect this. Sister Fei immediately put on a mask, and Qianye got into a fighting pose. The creature advised them not to start fights here because they are in the hospital. The ghost knew that the boy's mother, a classmate, and all the other 93 patients from their school were here too. The president did not know that the number of victims had increased by 3. They were obviously unlucky. The creature turned around and reminded him that his contract was 1 person per day. He had already eaten 1 soul today, so he let the heroes go. But he warned them that the students should be careful tomorrow. The next day, a ghost came to school and, as promised, absorbed another soul, which was the 94th. The teacher was watching this. He said that the creature should leave the place as soon as it finishes, and if it lingers, the school may come under suspicion. The ghost noticed that Chen Peng wasn't afraid of him at all, even though he couldn't see him and could only hear his voice. He assured the man not to worry and reminded him not to underestimate him, even though the ghost hadn't eaten everyone yet. The pursuer became nervous. The creature asked why it had to hold back if it wanted to feast. The teacher only needs to let him finish the 100 souls, and then he will fulfill his end of the bargain. The man remembered that among the signs, the stronger an individual is, the more it looks like a human, and asked if he wanted to be a human or pretend to be one. Chen Peng said that if a ghost wants to wear human skin, then it's better for him to follow the rules and not create unnecessary problems. The creature asked if all people are so attached to the rules, or just him. The teacher waved it off, saying it was a boring question that they would discuss another time. The ghost laughed and said that Chen Peng never appreciated his students, judging by what he says. A hero flew over them. He attacked him sharply, but the monster managed to deflect the blow. The ghost commented that it wasn't bad, but he lacked drive. Suddenly, Qianye, who had just been standing in front of him, began to slowly evaporate. The undead didn't understand what was going on. He heard boos and couldn't move. 2 weapons struck his body from both sides. However, the ghost remained without a scratch. He laughed at the fact that the guy didn't even have the strength to swing his sword properly. The monster grabbed Fei's hand as he wanted to end it. He threw a girl at a hero. The older one said that it looked like the teacher wasn't going to explain anything. Chen Peng didn't understand what he was supposed to say. Right now, students have only two options. The first is to remain silent and leave. The second is to die. The choice was up to them. Qianye asked why the man would allow such a crime to be committed, since his wife also suffers from dead sleep syndrome. The teacher said that the guy had already made his choice. At that moment, the ghost ran to attack. He hit Chen Fei and grazed her shoulder, but she managed to block the main blow with her sword. While she was holding the ghost, the girl asked her partner to act and not waste time. Behind her, Qianye started loading the cannon. The ghost didn't know what kind of weapon it was. The cannon fired powerfully at the enemy. A direct hit from a laser cannon pierces even steel. From the smoke after the shot, a ghost's voice could be heard praising the reception. Fei thought it was impossible to survive after that. The monster had no wounds. He saw the faceless one's cannon in Qianye's weapon. The ghost instantly appeared behind the hero and pierced him with his weapon, which passed through the body. Immediately, he appeared next to the girl and grabbed her by the shoulder, saying that she shouldn't rush because now it was her turn. Sister Fei managed to fight back with her sword. The ghost's weapon began to glow with a red haze, gaining strength. He waved it, and the energy in the form of a vertical wave rushed towards the girl. However, they were able to repel the blow. It was Cha Liang, the captain of the third team and the owner of a level A agility mask. He told the deputy leader of the Black Eagle to leave with the injured Qianye and leave the ghost to him. The man added that unlike in the Kingdom of Eternity, any wound here is transferred to a real body, so she must return the hero to human form as soon as possible and take him to the hospital. As she left, Sister Fei warned her colleague that this ghost was unlike any they had encountered before. He even knows how to speak human language. Cha Liang replied that she should not delay and leave quickly. She asked if they would meet at the headquarters, to which she received a positive response and advice to hurry up. The ghost saw that the students were leaving and ran towards them, asking where they were going. The captain of the third team stopped the creature with his sword and told him that he was now his opponent. The ghost jumped back and noticed that Fei and Qianye were no match for him. He asked him to introduce himself. The man replied that he was the captain of the third group of the Black Eagle, and his name was Cha Liang. Energy radiated around him. Old Song was standing by the school fence, calling Chen Fei. She managed to see a colleague here. Already in the car, she asked if the head had sent him, but the man replied that it was Cha Liang, who remembered them himself and decided to come. The girl told him to hurry to the hospital because Qianye had serious wounds. The opponent they were facing was level S, and he couldn't handle it alone. The hero sat and breathed heavily. Song asked what would happen to the captain. The president replied that they could only believe in him. In terms of speed and escape, he has no equal, and he also has an A+ level mask in his hands. Moreover, he has mastered the miracle, and no one except the head and Cha Liang is capable of resisting such a ghost alone. The man said it was unexpected, as it had been several years since they had met a ghost capable of resisting a hunter with a miracle. Qianye painfully asked what a miracle was. Fei asked him to conserve his strength. She moved closer to him and told him honestly that he probably wouldn't make it to the hospital. After death, the hero will enter the realm of eternity. The girl advised him to come to his senses as soon as possible and not let the ghosts take him by surprise. Old Song called Chen Fei with concern. She said the guy was dead. At this moment, the battle between the ghost and Cha Liang continued. After another attack, the monster mockingly asked if this was all his enemy was capable of. The captain of the third group was wounded. He was on his knees and asked why he needed more people if he was already strong, and if Chen Peng was slowing him down to achieve his goals. The ghost replied that he always acts cautiously, as these souls are very important to him. He said that he had been planning this for more than 10 years, and that the undead would soon ascend to the throne of the 8 dark gods. The man did not expect the ghost to mention this. The opponent explained to the captain that the 8 dark gods are dark ghosts with S level and above, which is what every ghost aspires to. Theoretically, a dark ghost becomes stronger by devouring human souls. But in reality, every ghost has its own limit. For example, he himself is now an A+, just a step away from the S level, and still feels his progress every time he devours his soul. Cha Liang was slowly regaining his strength. He specified if he wanted to absorb 100 human souls in order to reach the S level and squeeze into the throne of the 8 dark gods. The captain thanked for the information, but added that his dream would not come true. The ghost laughed and said it didn't make any difference what the walking corpse knew. The man lit up. A powerful energy radiated from him. He said that he rejoiced early and called upon the god of the wind, Boreas, the embodiment of a miracle. The inanimate was surrounded by tall statues. Qianye was flying in the air. The kingdom of eternity is a land of dreams, where divine power is not fiction. By wearing a mask, a person will gain power. But this is only a small part. Among those who have obtained divine powers, there are many outstanding hunters who have spent dozens of years cultivating. In the end, they get the opportunity to merge with the mask, releasing its absolute power. The ghost looked up at God. Although this is the power of a former deity, however, it is enough to bring down the heavens. And the name of it is the embodiment of a miracle. Boreas was immediately behind the ghost and touched it with his sword. However, the creature managed to hit Qianye. This did not harm the captain of the third group, because part of his body had dissipated. The ghost assumed it was the wind. The statue behind the undead raised its huge sword, and he stuck it into the ground, which caused a strong wind to blow from the impact. The ghost couldn't stand on his feet and fell to his knees. The other statue also started to move and started playing on the harp. The wind vibrated violently against the undead, who had already understood his enemy's technique. The 4 stone statues correspond to the 4 directions of the wind, and Qianye can move freely using it. At that moment, Boreas appeared next to him. The wind god slapped him in the face. The ghost used his sword to push him away. He was shot in the eye by the captain of the third group. At that moment, he recognized his strength. The ghost said that now he was not surprised that Qianye dared to stay and fight alone. His abilities are at a decent level. The words stung the captain. He said that this was the territory of the wind, and the creature was no more than a dead leaf, and its raging current would not leave a wet spot on it. The inanimate was surprised by such an initiative, and replied that it was too much for a mortal. Meanwhile, in the realm of eternity, the 1,000-footed dark ghost was fighting with Qianye. The creature threw him up. He landed on the ground. The hero wondered how a ghost who had devoured 93 souls could inflict a fatal blow on him. He didn't understand how he managed to move behind his back without making a sound. The same thing happened to Chen. But most importantly, Qianye was enveloped in a deep sense of powerlessness from being killed with one touch. The 1,000-legged man screamed and rushed at the hero. The student was angry because he couldn't even protect himself, let alone his family. So now his main goal is to harness his new abilities and raise his level. The guy swung his sword and jumped at the monster that was trying to swallow him. He decided that he would take these powerless ghosts as another step. In the mortal world, Qianye was sitting next to her brother's body with burning incense. Faye came into the room and said hello. Sister Qianye was scared and screamed. Seeing that Dudu was already mentally saying goodbye to the guy, the eldest said that she shouldn't do this, because he would wake up soon. She could see that his wound had completely healed, which meant that he had won the fight, and it was only a matter of time before he woke up. The president was most worried about Qianye, because that dark ghost was strong enough. The younger one began to pray and cry out to the heavens. Black Eagle Blade knew that if the captain of the third group was defeated, then only the head would be able to stop the enemy. Qianye stood up abruptly, which scared his sister. He asked what he was wearing. Dudu replied with a smile that she dresses him in funeral clothes every time and lights incense when his brother gets into trouble, because after that, he always wakes up. The hero said she shouldn't do that. The girl did not understand and said that she sincerely prayed to Yama, the god of death, to spare his life. The guy exclaimed and asked why he was the one. Faye's sister received a notification on her phone. The message surprised and strained her. Qianye also told her sister to stop changing his clothes because they are no longer children, to which Dudu protested. The president called out sharply to him. They got into the car and drove through the streets of the city. The hero asked what happened. Black Eagle Blade asked him if he remembered the man who saved them after he was injured. The student replied that he had seen this guy with a mohawk at an office meeting. Faye introduced Qianye, the captain of the third team, to Qianye. He wields an A-level wind god agility mask. In terms of speed and destructiveness, he has no equal in their group. Old Song told how many years ago his colleague mastered the embodiment of a miracle, one of the most powerful abilities that few have been able to master. Not knowing what had happened, the hero began to guess and asked not to tell him about it. They arrived at their destination. The guy was filled with fear. He was in shock. In front of him was the destroyed school building, which was blocked off. He was told that Qianye had lost, but he was assured that he had no equal in terms of escape. They got out of the car and approached the leader. Faye asked if there was any news. Qianye replied that there was nothing good. He pointed the girl down where he was looking. The eldest did not expect to see this. A crater had obviously formed in the ground from the impact. The man said that when he arrived, there were already hunters from other teams, but he was more worried about how his captain lost. Blade asked if he had any ideas. He replied in the affirmative. Because they have a time master. Dan Ning, a member of the 1st Reconnaissance Squad from the support division, was hovering above the pit. She used the miracle incarnation skill, Mnemosyne. Her mask is the god of memory. The embodiment of a miracle can completely restore everything that happens at that moment. The girl began to replay the events of that battle, so the day rarely turned into night. Qianye looked back and saw the ghost and Cha Liang. A man attacks a green monster. He is preparing to deliver another blow to the enemy with a katana. However, he does not have time to do this, as the enemy disappears. Qianye asks if he really disappeared, but the older one suggests that there is something else behind it. She explains that in the domain of the wind god, the wearer is able to sense every object that is touched by the wind, but for some reason now Cha Liang is not able to catch it. The creature the heroes are fighting has appeared from Cha Liang's shadow. Qianye warningly shouts that the monster has hidden in the shadows, and the older one says that it's useless. Cha Liang can switch places with any gust of wind, so such slow attacks are not able to reach him. The monster does not have time to strike at the man, as he is back in the air. The hero notes that the dark ghost is very fast. The next moment, he hid in the shadow of the statue. Cha Liang uses the skill Wind Slash. A gust of destructive wind is directed at the monster. This causes him tremendous damage. The man asks the creature, is this really all he can do? Move through the shadows? The monster almost touched the ground. However, the next moment, he was already hiding in his own shadow. Qianye makes the assumption that it is most likely a shadow of grass, but if this continues, Cha Liang will lose the initiative. The girl asks the reason for this reasoning. The hero explains that Cha Liang is able to move between the currents of the wind. He may be fast in theory, but he can still be attacked. But the dark ghost moves between the shadows, so if anything happens, he can just hide in them and wait out the attack. In other words, if the dark ghost wants to escape, he can use the shadow to escape at any moment. But he didn't, which means he's confident of winning. The previous attacks were just probing Cha Liang. Most likely, he is capable of much more. The monster says that the game is over. Next, he uses the miracle incarnation skill, and behind him, the network of myriad shadows. Cha Liang thought that this monster was really capable of summoning so many skeletons. The man uses the Wind Slash skill again. However, mountains of skeletons appear behind him again. The hero notices that skeletons appear wherever there is a shadow. Cha Liang won't be able to dodge anymore. The man focuses his breathing, and then it swirls into a tornado. He demolishes a building that stood nearby. Then he uses the gap skill. He has settled to the ground and thinks that he can no longer support the embodiment of the miracle. However, it doesn't matter where the monster hides, because if it destroys an object that casts a shadow, then it's finished. The monster says that the man is naive. The shadow is another dimension. Even if he broke everything here, it wouldn't change anything. The creature deals damage to the enemy. Cha Liang disappears with a gust of wind, and the monster says that the blow definitely got him. He must have just run away. Then he remembers that today was the 97th soul. He laughs and says that he has only 3 left. Qianye glares at him angrily. The man asks his friends not to worry. Cha Liang is currently at the headquarters, and his life is not in danger. He hopes that everyone has seen what this ghost is capable of, and won't mind calling it the ghost of the blade. His main ability is shadow shifting, and with the help of the embodiment of a miracle, he can summon a huge number of skeletons of shadows. One girl yawns, says that she is tired, and asks for permission to go home. The eldest turns to the leader and asks if she needs to inform the captains of the other teams about the unscheduled meeting. The girl with pink hair repeated the words related to the meeting. She stands on the roof and swears at the people below. She asks if they really need to get together over such a small matter. Don't they have anything to do? This is Mei Zhu, captain of the 2nd team. A level A attack mask. The girl thinks that she just needs to take the life of this Chen Pan, and that's the end of it. She's curious about why everyone likes to make a big deal out of a molehill. The leader asks Mei Zhu to come down and give his opinion. You can't hear her at all here. Or is she not planning to participate in the discussion? The girl jumped off the roof and assumed that the man was already very old since he couldn't hear anything. The man says that since everyone has heard Mei Ru's proposal, then most likely they already have some opinion about it. The girl began to resent the fact that he had deceived her and still heard everything. Mei Zhu says that no one will have any objections anyway. In order for a dark ghost to stay in the human world for a long time, he must make a pact with one of the people, otherwise he will be sent back to his world. In other words, Blade Ghost and Chen Pan are related to each other. If Chen Pan loses his life, the ghost of the blade will go back to the realm of eternity. Qianye says that it's not like that. The girl was indignant. The hero explains that even without a pact with a human, given the power of the ghost blade, he can act alone. Why would he sign a contract with Chen Pan? Mei Zhu pointed her bat at the guy and asked who he was to say anything. This is a meeting of the Black Eagles team. The leader stops the girl and tells her to let him finish. It's quite normal that he doesn't want his teacher to die. Qianye continues to explain that without the pact, the ghost of the blade can only stay in the human world for a limited time. However, with that kind of power, it wouldn't be difficult for him to just move between worlds. That way, he would be able to devour as many souls as he wanted. The guy asks if the ghost of the blade has any reason to make a pact with Chen Peng, limited to 1 soul per day. It's not efficient. He thinks that first they need to learn more about Chen Peng. He must have some leverage over this ghost. Otherwise, Blade Ghost would not have made such an unreasonable contract with him. The leader summarizes the guy's words that Chen Peng is most likely holding back the ghost of the blade. Then, taking his life will add to their problems. The elder agrees with Qianye. Mei Ru asks the girl about the reason why she always stands up for him. Had he bewitched her? She responds by not standing up for anyone, just following the path of the least number of victims. The leader asks Dan Ning what she thinks about this. She says it's nothing. She's just tired and wants to leave as soon as possible. The man announces the results. He says that Dan Ning abstains from voting. Qianye is not a member of the hunting team and does not have the right to vote. He's on Chen Fei's side. Then it's 2-1. They decide to start an investigation around Chen Peng. He then informs Chen Fei that he needs to go to the Yek country to deal with the latest incident with the portal. She will be in charge of the investigation. He also gives her the right to manage the entire organization. Once everything is settled, they can leave. Mei Ru swears, because the leader never listens to her. Lu Liu, the deputy captain of the second team, a level B support mask, asks the girl to calm down and suggests that maybe their decision is correct. The girl thinks that they just want to get closer to Chen Fei. Lu Liu says that it has started again. He asks her to remember what happened the time she decided to destroy the portal. Now the boss is taking it out on her. She, in turn, asks why he is hitting the patient, and anyway, he should be on her side. She asks to call Cha Liang. He only got a blow, but he came down as if he was about to lose his life. There are healers in his team. She asks Lu Liu to tell him that she needs him in order to take Chen Peng's life. The man asks teacher Chen about what he thinks about this incident. College president Peng Shi says that a sudden tornado hit the school, and the police did not dare to intervene. This has happened before. Every time a student catches the syndrome of dead sleep, he turns out to be nearby. Is it just a coincidence? The teacher clarifies what the president means by this. He replies that he is not interested in either him or the dead sleep syndrome. He doesn't care if he can really put people into eternal sleep. But that student, if she falls into eternal sleep, she will be sent to the hospital. Isn't this a waste of time? Teacher Chen wanted to ask for an opinion on something, but the president stopped him and told him to stop pretending. Didn't he have a hand in that student? His wife also caught a dead sleep. Was he lonely without a wife? The teacher started to get angry. He turned to the president, and he explains that when he found out that this had happened to his wife, he fell into despair. Every day he prayed to the gods, hoping that she would wake up, and then one day the gods responded. He took off his tie and wrapped it around his hands. The voice told him that if he could help swallow 100 souls, he would be able to restore his strength and help his beloved wake up. But he learned that those whose souls he would consume would suffer from a dead sleep. It became a moral dilemma. Is he interested in what the director would choose in his place? Then he stabs the director in the chest and asks him to speak. On the one hand, there are hundreds of innocent people. On the other hand, his beloved wife. What would he choose in his place? If it was him, he would definitely decide to help her. Maybe he also laughed at those students? Well, he's willing to endure the bitterness of losing his beloved students in exchange for his wife's life. Everyone and everyone. He will send you to eternal sleep, only for his wife to open her eyes again and look at him. He was willing to sacrifice everything for this. And the director is no exception. The president of the college, who was harmed, is outraged that he dared to raise his hands against him and says that he is fired and that he will report him to the police. And after he reports, his wife will be beyond saving, and they will save the students. The teacher explains that people who have fallen into eternal sleep are unable to speak. He then orders the ghost of the ghost blade to begin. This is the 98th. The spirit stood behind the director's chair. The next day, the phone rang. Chen Fei was on the phone. She talked about listening to a dream. She is informed that Chen Peng and the ghost of the blade have gone to the hospital. He thinks that they were right. He really visits his wife every evening. The girl thanked Uncle Song. They'll start looking, and maybe they'll find some leads. Qianye tells someone on the phone that he will be very busy. He has an architectural project at school. He ordered food for someone for the evening. It will be delivered soon. He tells the man not to be bored. The older one says that she never thought about the fact that he was actually worried about his younger sister. The guy noticed the snide expressions on the girls' faces and asked about it. Chen Fei opened the office door and announced that it was Chen Pan's office. She began to study all possible papers, but there were only educational materials. The eldest decides to check the teacher's computer, and he asks Qianye to inspect the shelves. The girl turns to Uncle Song and asks about the situation. Are Chen Peng and Ghostblade still in the hospital? He replies that Chen Peng's car is still here, so he hasn't left yet. Also, Mei Ru just called and asked about Chen Peng's whereabouts. He didn't lie and told her everything. Chen Fei realized that the captain of the second team was probably going to take the teacher's life, and then she asked her uncle to connect her with her. They need to talk. Mei Zhu asks about what the girl needs. She says that as the acting head of the team, she orders her to stay put. She replies that it's over. She knows that in crowded places you can't go anywhere. She's only here to gather information, and if she could kidnap his wife, it would only be better. The older one screams into the phone that the police can catch her ghost, but they can arrest her. Mei Ru decides to block the girl. Chen Fei notices that the captain of the second team is always in trouble. Dan Ning says that they've been stuck here for so long and haven't found anything. She decides to take advantage of it. She uses the skill, Miracle Incarnation, Mnemoscene. A bright light illuminated the building. This skill was able to recreate the events of last night. The teacher was sitting at the table and reading. Chen Fei was curious about what he was looking at. It was a notebook with student questionnaires. One of the students was in the woods at the time. Number 97, this is a notebook. Maybe it's a list of Chen Peng's victims. Qianye realized that he was hiding this notebook in the closet. He went over and opened the right locker. There was a double bottom. Their guesses turned out to be true. This is the list of Chen Pan's victims. He even numbered them and ticked off those whose souls had already been consumed. A girl named Chen Yuanyu at number 90. Chen Fei asks if the guy noticed a pattern. Whether it's Chen Yuanyu or that guy named Shi Rui, they're both students without families. But the school is not an orphanage. There are not many orphans here, so he chooses those who have fewer relatives or those who have no influence. And if you look at the photos in the notebook, then some of them are clearly not students. This suggests that by selecting suitable prey, it devours their family members as well to eliminate any future threats. Qianye notices that he has the same situation. She starts flipping through the teacher's diary. He found his sister's profile. Uncle Song says that something is wrong. Chen Peng and the ghost of the blade are not in the hospital at all. They searched everything, but there are no records of his visits. Qianye realizes that their intelligence has failed them. The hero transforms and goes somewhere. The older one tries to stop him, but he disappears, and she doesn't have time to say anything. Chen Fei turns to Wang Ning and asks her to stay here and continue searching for clues, and she will follow Qianye. The guy's younger sister is walking down the street and thinks that her brother is always so busy on weekends that he probably even forgot to have dinner, and she had just bought his favorite cream tarts. He'll definitely like it. Last time, he smeared his face with cream so much that he looked just like Santa. Chen Fei was making her way through the crowd. She ran past the girl, and she thought that Chen Fei's sister seemed to have brought her brother home last time. Isn't she his girlfriend? She seems to be in a hurry. My sister decides to stay with my brother today and help him. Qianye bursts into the house. He transforms into his usual clothes. He looks at the bag of food and thinks about how his sister didn't even open the food. Chen Fei caught up with the guy, and he informed her that her sister was not at home. She asks about her phone. Qianye says that he called many times on the way here, but there is no answer. There was silence in the room. A phone rang somewhere in the room. The heroes realized that their sister had forgotten her phone. He was lying on the bed, in the bedroom. He picks up the phone and informs them that they need to return to school. Chen Fei says that they just got out of school, Why was he so sure she would be there? He replies that the last call from her phone was to deliver his favorite cakes. And then the courier called her back. She probably ordered them for him. If she had to go somewhere far from home, then when ordering a taxi, she would immediately notice the absence of a phone. And since they live very close to the school, she would have decided not to come back for it, even if she realized that she had left it at home. The older one notices that she really wanted to cheer him up. The guy hit the elevator door because it was going very slowly. The guy decides to go out the window. Chen Fei tells him that they are on the 11th floor. The hero landed successfully on the street. He thinks that he needs to get there as quickly as possible. He uses the skill, soul summoning. The power of 1,000 legs is activated. My sister walks through the school and enters my brother's office, but it was empty. She says that most likely he decided to study drawings in the dormitory rather than in a special classroom. It's better to call her and check with him. Then she realizes that she forgot her phone. She thinks that she needs to find someone and find out. Someone came up behind her. The girl turned around, sensing the presence of someone. She called her brother. She looked around the corner and said that there seemed to be no one here. What should she do now? Teacher Chen appeared from behind. Qianye ran as fast as he could. He noticed an ambulance near the school. Terrible thoughts flashed through my mind. He began to make his way through the crowd. A moment later, he was at the gurney. His younger sister was lying on it, unconscious. She had a package in her hand. The guy's favorite cake fell out of it. Qianye started crying and cursing Chen Peng. Mei Ru says that wouldn't it have been easier to just defeat Chen Peng at the very beginning and avoid all these difficulties? The older one asks her to be quiet. The captain of the second team thinks that she still has something to say. Cha Liang will be able to compete quite well with Ghostblade's miracle resistance. But if you count them? Was she sure he could even stand up to all of them? The girl took out the diary and told me to look here. Qianye's sister is number 98. Do they really want to wait until it reaches 100 before they act? Cha Liang says that this time he agrees with Mei Zhu's idea. They don't know anything about the power of the 8 dark gods that Blade Ghost was talking about. The girl confirms the guy's words and adds that if he really reaches the S level, he doesn't think they will be enough. Wang Ning notes that Anqian's leader is also S level, and the gap between the S level and theirs is quite large. They, the A-level hunters, can only curb the release of the miracle, while the leader can use the miracle release. The difference between them is too great. Chen Fei says that it looks like they have no other choice. Besides, they have no more than 24 hours. She turns to Kang Ke and says that it is written in the notebook that he is next. Even though they don't want to involve him, because of the fact that his family is involved, he won't be able to approach the matter with a cool head. But this time, it seems they have no choice but to use him as bait. She hadn't wanted to mention it before, but he hadn't looked through the notebook first. And the second page is his mother. Mei Ru wanted to say something to the guy, but he started talking about 3 aspects. First, he saw that his mother was in this notebook, but he didn't specifically give it away. When his mom came to visit him at school, she suddenly fell ill. Most likely, she noticed those 2, which is why they decided to get rid of her. But at this time, when his mother contracted dead sleep syndrome, he was still Chen Peng's favorite student. He thinks about how, out of guilt, he decided not to attack him and his sister. But now that his plan is only 1 step away, he is quite capable of sacrificing anyone. Therefore, the list doesn't matter now. Everyone present, including family members, will become the objects of his hunt. He will certainly want to eliminate any source of threat. The second aspect is because his ability is to absorb the abilities of ghosts if he puts on someone else's mask. Will he be able to use their abilities? Chen Fei says that this is impossible. She asks the guy not to let his feelings overwhelm his mind. The human body is not able to withstand the power of 2 gods at the same time. Before him, there were those who decided to try, but they all lost their lives. Cha Liang asks that he has the mask of the King of Hell. He knew several other speakers. The eldest says that there is no point in bringing all sorts of rumors here. Qianye will ask Cha Liang to continue saying that he owns the mask of the King of Hell, which means that all previous wearers have lost their lives. He confirms the guy's words and says that everyone, without exception, mysteriously died in the process of mastering the embodiment of the miracle. The hero gets up from his chair and says that the embodiment of a miracle will not be useful to him in a fight with a ghost. Mei Zhu asks the guy to stop acting so arrogantly. It's like he has a plan. His ability is too unfair. They might not be able to defeat him, but he would still be able to escape at any moment. The hero moves on to the third aspect. He has a plan that will help take the life of the Blade Ghost. It's a ghost sitting on the roof. He says that his pet and his friends have left school. He offered to catch them. Teacher Chen replies that there are too many of them. It's 8 o'clock at night, he'd better get out after them around midnight, because only then would he be able to absorb the next soul. The ghost of the blade suggests that this is easier said than done. How will he be able to find it? The teacher responds by installing a tracker in the notebook they took away. He says that he has already absorbed 99 souls. There are so many people around, why not just eat any random person to end it all? The teacher replies that they don't know that yesterday he absorbed the headmaster's soul. He thinks that they have studied the notebook and are preparing for the fact that Qianye will be next on the plan. He is sure that according to their calculations, they have about 1 day to prepare. Therefore, now is the best time to carefully get rid of all possible threats from their side. And one more thing. He's still worried about him. He's interested in what Qianye says to him at graduation. Chen Fei stands at the big doors and asks if everyone has prepared. Liang says something like that. All that remains is to wait for the arrival of the ghost. The elder suggests that Qianye go over the plan again. He was sitting on a rock nearby and thinking about something. The girl told Liang to go and discuss the plan with Mei Ru. She approaches the hero and asks him if he is sure that everything will be successful. His low-level mask, he replies that this is the only acceptable way. The only way out of this situation is to defeat Chen Peng, or he will lose his family forever. This time, they must take the life of the Blade Ghost. When he was little, he often had nightmares. Each time, his mother would gently wake him up, wipe the cold sweat from his forehead, and hum a lullaby to make him fall asleep. Later, when he and his sister went to school, his mother would quietly wake him up every time. So in the depths of his memory, every time he opened his eyes, it seemed to him that he saw his mother's gentle face. But after she contracted dead sleep syndrome, he could only watch as he lost her, unable to change anything. He couldn't save his mother the way she had saved him from nightmares countless times. Then he swore that despite his gentleness, he would become the protector of his family. However, who would have thought that it was a mistake? Gentleness is useless. Gentleness cannot protect a family. He needs strength. A force capable of suppressing any threat. Chen Fei tells the guy that the emotions he is experiencing will only lead to the worst. She had seen many people who died in fits of rage. She asks him to calm down as much as he can. The girl doesn't understand him. He is not one of those with a huge heart and a sharp, clear mind. The closer to a dead end, the more calmly he thinks about how to survive. He's very calm right now. He had never been so calm before. The girl is tensing up. She informed the guy that it was time for them to go. The enemy is already very close. A shadow appeared in the ground. The ghost of the blade began to count from 1 to 4. He has 5 opponents in total. He understands that they are not in the building. Judging by the soul energy, they should be about 200 meters underground, in a warehouse. The creature penetrates inside. He says that the kids are hiding very deep. But you can't hide from him. He came from a large room. And suddenly the lights turned on. The creature realized that he was trapped. The ghost started looking for a place to hide, but Qianye tells him that this is the place of his execution, which they have carefully prepared. He will only tell him this once. The guy demands that his mother and sister be returned to him. The ghost grinned and said that these tricks would not work with him. Did they really think that he was nothing without his shadows? The next moment, he strikes. The wall collapses, and the light goes out. He tells them that his shadows are now with him again. Dan Ning uses his skill. Liang tells him that he doesn't know about Dan Ning's abilities. In reality, he is able to destroy the environment so as to create a shadow for maneuvers. But here in memory, he is powerless. Qianye explains to him that they had kept the place in bright light for 3 hours before his arrival. Now, with the help of Dan Ning's incarnation, they would be able to maintain the memory world here for 3 hours, and he would not be able to use his abilities. Everything in the world has a light and a dark side, so everything has a shadow. But he knows that he can't use any shadow for his teleportations. After all, to become suitable for him, the shadow must be dark enough. And it turns out that if it is too far away, dim and small, he will not be able to use it. He needed to take the blade. There was no need to stall for time. Meiju applies her miracle embodiment and says that in the end, they only have 3 hours. Lachan attacks the blade ghost, but it dodges. Meiju sneaks up behind him. She uses the dash skill. The monster swore. The captain of the second team knocks the ghost down with 1 blow. She looks at him with malice. She is asked if she can defeat him in 4 strokes. Meiju says yes. This is a feature of her incarnation. Every 4th hit with a 100% chance will cause critical damage. The longer she charges the punch, the stronger it will be. Once she hits this ghost, it's definitely over. Qianye summarizes that In other words, there are two factors for victory. First, create a space where the ghost of the blade cannot use shadows to escape. Secondly, make sure that Captain May's fourth attack hits the target exactly. Uncle Song had told him that he had an Earth God mask, so he was very good at changing the landscape. Mei Zhu says that they call him a miner behind his back. His abilities won't be useful in combat, but they are useful for mining. They will ask him to dig a hole several hundred meters deep and create a massive arena inside it. Then they will illuminate the entire arena for several hours. And if the ghost decides to destroy the lighting, thereby creating a shadow, Dan Ning uses her incarnation to lock him in an infinitely bright space. That way, he won't have a chance to leave. Chen Fei says that then the lighting and electricity are on it. The second point is that if Mathai suddenly misses, the ghost will clearly feel the force of the blow and become alert. Therefore, they have only one chance to do everything right. The hero thinks that they will need a bait. Mei Zhu strikes the third blow. They think that if you were in such a situation, who would you attack first? It would definitely be Qianye. It's the weakest, so it's the easiest to get rid of. The ghost of the blade would certainly attack him, but he would not be his main target. His priority will be Dan Ning, who prevents him from using shadows. The actions developed exactly as the guys thought up. In the next moment, Cha Liang uses his miracle incarnation. He uses the skill West Wind and demolishes the ghost. This is followed by the wind cutting technique. The ghost of the blade dodges the attack. He thinks that these minor injuries are nothing to him. If he can defeat Dan Ning, victory will definitely be his. Chen Fei screams for the girl to run. Qianye suggested that Dan Ning intentionally get hit. At the moment of impact, the ghost will be as focused as possible on the target, and they will be able to suppress it. The older one explains to the guy that the girl has an A level, but her role is support. Her stats are one level lower, so the impact damage will be much higher. The hero asks the girl not to panic. The monster strikes Dan Ning, and he says that this is the end, and it's time to turn out the lights. He started to look around, but the light continued to illuminate the room. Qianye tells him that the dark ghost of the batfish can transform into anything. And he, being a dark ghost, didn't even know about it. The girl's silhouette began to disappear. The ghost swore. The hero tells the monster that it's okay to lose. He got angry and ran to attack. But Cha Liang manages to apply the skill Four-Sided Wind. This deals damage to the ghost of the blade. Mei Zhu came up to him, ready to strike. This is her last, fourth blow. A woman stands near the aquarium and says that it's cute. She asks her husband how much time has passed since they went on a date after the wedding. Teacher Chen replies that it could be 8 or even 10. He can't even remember anymore. His wife says that she remembers how he always promised that they would go to the aquarium. He confirms the words of his wife and apologizes for this. She notices that he sacrifices so many people for her. It's not like him. The man is about to leave. The woman asks that he really has to go. Maybe he'll stay for a while after all? It's a dream, after all. He says he doesn't have much time. The next time he took her to the aquarium, it definitely wouldn't be a dream. The taxi driver informs them that they have already arrived and asks the teacher what he is doing here at such a late hour. He replies that it's none of his business and holds out the bill. He gets out of the car and tells the driver to keep the change. At this time, Mei Ru strikes the final, fourth blow, which should be fatal for the ghost of the blade. The building under which the arena is located is being destroyed. A pillar of light was pointed at the sky. The ghost crawled in search of salvation. Someone stopped in front of them. It was Qianye, Chen Fei, Mei Ru, and Cha Liang who told him that he had lost. Then teacher Chen Peng appeared and looked at the students. The ghost of the blade wrote the number 1 on the ground. Qianye says that now he will return his mother and sister to him. The teacher turns to the student and says that he thought he would understand him. The feeling of powerlessness when you lose loved ones, you worry when you know that you are doing the wrong thing, but you can only continue. He doesn't know that he gained superpowers thanks to this strange mask. And he doesn't know that it cost him to find her. He can't even see the ghost that lies in front of them. He's an ordinary college teacher. He had no choice. Chen Fei asks Chen Peng to step back. He still has a choice. He just needs to let them defeat the ghost. They will help him find the pieces of his wife. He asks how long it will take. Maybe a year or 2. Maybe 10. However, his wife can't wait that long. A month before she was confronted with dead sleep syndrome, he was diagnosed with terminal throat cancer, which had already metastasized. He can't wait, and neither can she. He planned to retire, and in the last few months of his life, fulfill the promise he had made to her. Go to the most romantic place and see the sea that she loves. But fate refused him again. She caught the syndrome of dead sleep. The teacher wonders why fate is playing with him like this. He has been training students for decades, each of whom has become a talented specialist. His conscience is clear. What did he do wrong? Why is heaven punishing him like this? His wife has a flower shop, and she has provided flowers for free for all weddings and funerals of relatives and friends. What did she do wrong? Why do honest people end up like this? Teacher Chen Peng addresses them and asks that since they are not just people, can they tell if heaven or hell exists? And what are heaven and hell? He then turns to Qianye and says that if good deeds are rewarded in heaven and evil deeds are punished in hell, then isn't hell heaven? Real hell is when good deeds are punished and evil ones are rewarded. He says the guy's name and summarizes that the human world is a real hell. The ghost of the blade touched Chen Peng. Qianye and Chen Fei are shocked. The ghost of the blade says that this is the 100th person. She did it. Finally reached the S level. There was an explosion, and the creature was laughing angrily. A reporter reports that a large explosion has occurred at a factory in the suburban Yuhang district, and a fire brigade has already arrived at the scene. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, the fire brigade is unable to reach the explosion site. As they see it, the fire brigade is planning to extinguish the fire from a helicopter. However, the helicopter exploded. The reporter says that a man is floating in the air. This is Chen Fei. The ghost of the blade holds her by the neck and tells her that she is too weak. To deal with it, you don't even need to unleash a miracle. Although he still didn't understand how to use it. He released the girl and began to talk about how the 8 dark gods had once called him worthless. He stubbornly believed that it was because he was unable to comprehend the release of the miracle. Now he realized that wasn't the point at all. The S level and the A level are like heaven and earth. Qianye thinks that he has just reached the S level. He's only alive because Cha Liang pushed him away. The rest are already on edge. Mei Ru and Chen Fei couldn't even hold out for a minute. The only ones who can still fight are the ones who stayed underground, namely Dan Ning. The ghost landed not far from Qianye with a Danning in his hands. He asks the hero that his tricks didn't help this time. The ghost of a blade appeared from the guy's shadow. The hero swore. He grabbed the young man by the hood. Then he threw it back and said that he was tired of people with their tricks. Unfortunately, in the face of absolute power, they are insignificant. He reveals to him the secret that he actually swallowed Chen Peng's wife. She was actually the first soul he had absorbed in this realm. After that, he saw that the teacher was ready to do anything to get her back, and realized that he would sign a contract with him. Then he began to tell him that the souls of some people are not so easy to absorb. For example, his mother's soul. When he devoured her, she kept muttering the names of her children. This poor woman did not even suspect that her children would end up the same way. Also this duo. He thought that she would be very scared. Who would have thought that she would be looking at him? Just the way Qianye is looking at him now. The ghost says it's just disgusting. However, this is where his little life ends. He starts laughing and shouting that he has won. Qianye lay without signs of life. He was in some kind of bottomless space, and someone was calling his name. The hero opened his eyes. He is told that he needs to eat it, the only way he will have a chance to survive. The guy doesn't understand what he needs to eat. The hand holds out the Chen Fei mask to him and asks him not to pull. He thinks that this is not an option for him. After eating this mask, he will definitely die. He has almost lost his life already. The ghost would definitely destroy his body, so that he wouldn't have a chance to return from the realm of eternity. Then what should other lost, restless souls do? By that time, his sister, his mother, Chen Pen, his wife, Chen Fei, Mei Ru, Cha Liang, Dan Ning. Will they all have a choice? But what if, by eating this mask, he can change everything? The voice urges the guy to eat this mask. He thinks that he won't do it. He'll find another way. Qianye absorbs the mask, and the voice says that by absorbing the mask, they will all have a choice. The young man stood up with a blade in his chest. The ghost became alert. Qianye looked at him with a murderous gaze. His face was disfigured. The ghost of the blade thinks that the guy did not lose his life, and he seems to have made a mistake. It seems to him that the hero has changed. Pulling the weapon out of himself, Qianye throws it at the monster. However, he manages to catch him. Then, he returned his gaze to the guy, but he was gone. Perhaps he became invisible. Qianye appeared from behind the monster, and then, with one blow, he knocked him to the ground. Then he broke the blade with his teeth. The monster began to run away, hiding in the shadows. He doesn't know what happened to the guy, but his basic stats already match the A-level attack class mask. But there's no difference, it's just an A level. He decides to try attacking again. Emerging from the shadows, He grabs the guy's leg and he tells the guy that he needs to plunge into the abyss of shadows. However, he can't pull it off. Has the hero become so strong? It's just not possible. Suddenly, the ghost of the blade stopped moving. He realized that this was Chen Fei's ability. What is Qianye gonna do? He intercepts the hand of the creature that holds his leg. The monster is shocked by what is happening. Having completely pulled the ghost of the blade out of the shadow, the guy strikes him. He jumps away from the guy at a decent distance and swears. He says that the hero of everything is Lin A level. There's no need for him to be so arrogant. The ghost of the blade uses his miracle incarnation and releases the skill Network of Myriad Shadows. Qianye deftly dodges the skeletons. However, the monster manages to stab him. He asks him if he really thinks that by absorbing the mask of another wearer, he will immediately become strong. But unfortunately, he's only an A level. This mistake would cost him his life. However, there was only an illusion in front of the monster. He cursed inwardly. At this time, Qianye was absorbing Meiru's mask. The ghost of the blade asks him to stop, but the words have no effect on the hero, and he continues to consume masks. A girl asks the deputy commander about the situation. He tells her to take a look for herself. The battle between the S levels is really like a monster battle. The man asks the girl to come back and tell the commander that besides them, there is a representative of 5 or 6 other guilds and hunting teams. If they want to win this guy over to their side, then they should act quickly. If necessary, he will step in to help him. The drone is flying over the accident site. People are shocked that Qianye has already absorbed 4 masks. The man says that they were conducting experiments and the subjects couldn't stand even one. The girl asks them why they are discussing all this. He is the chosen one of their guild of assassins. She asks why the task of other users is to take the lives of dark ghosts, and their task is to take the lives of these users, because they raise the level by taking lives, and they raise the level by taking people's lives. And this guy is the only one who is able to devour other people's masks and abilities. He is the chosen one of their guild of people who take lives. Her fate, he's her king. The man kicks out the guy who controls the drone. At this time, there is a fierce struggle at the scene. The ghost of the blade thinks that not only has he already eaten 4 masks, his stats are already at S level, but he has also mastered all the mask's abilities. It seems that he does not have enough strength to support the release of the miracle, which means that his only trump card is useless. Invisibility, acceleration, illusions, teleportation, critical hits, time rewind. He can freely use all these abilities in different combinations. In such a situation, it's best to find an opportunity to leave. And he has 2 ways. The first is to use shadow teleportation. The distance he can teleport to is too short, and he will have to use it several times. But it's too risky. If he hit him again with the pink-haired girl's ability, he would be defeated. In addition, teleportation, acceleration, the ability to restrict his movements, all this reduces his chances to nothing. It's clear that right now, he can't leave his shadow realm. Therefore, now it is better to resort to the second way. Chen Pen. He lost his soul. Therefore, the contract must be terminated. So in theory, he will have to go back to the Kingdom of Eternity. Even if he decides to go after them, as soon as he enters the realm of eternity, he will be recognized as an S-level carrier, which means he will be greeted by a ghost of the same power. In this case, he will have an advantage. So now he needs to focus on defense. And then he can win. The ghost tells Qianye that he thought he had some other trick to get him out of the shadow realm, but he can only use illusions. The hero uses the embodiment of the miracle of Tiuhe. The embodiment of the miracle is the god of wind, Boreas. Blade Ghost is shocked that he can use an incarnation. Next, he uses the skill North Wind. A jet of wind was directed towards the monster while he was trying to block the attack. Qianye appeared behind him. He was preparing to strike again. The ghost of the blade suggests that even if he were twice S level, his combat experience is nothing compared to his. How dare he even think that he could handle his shadow realm? He's incapable of anything but his useless illusions. He can create them even until he turns blue, twitching and parallel in the gusts of his wind. He wouldn't be able to break through his shadow realm anyway. Suddenly, the ghost noticed something. A blue-purple aura appeared around the guy's body. He understands that this color seems familiar to him. This is the embodiment of the miracle of the girl in the cape. Qianye appeared from behind the monster and put his hand on its shoulder. He told him to keep quiet. The monster thinks that his immobilization is much stronger than the girl's. It turns out that he used the illusion of memory all this time, while the main body was taking his punches. The ghost says that in any case, his experience is negligible for him. The reason why the Shadow Realm is considered the strongest defense and contract technique is because it unleashes an endless string of attacks on all living beings who enter its domain. He can move again. The ghost shows the guy the difference in their combat experiences. He shouldn't have been so loud. After all, defeat is his fate. However, Qianye makes his way through the monster's attacks. He's in shock. The guy asks him to shut up again. The ghost wonders if he just walked through his shadow realm. The hero is ready for a new attack. A sword appeared in his hand. The ghost of the blade thinks that he still can't move. They tell him to be careful. The sword touched him lightly. The creature understands what it can be. Qianye struck the first blow, then the second one. This is the incarnation of Meiju again. The third blow was struck. The young man raised his sword for the fourth blow. A girl asked Chen Fei to save her. She says that she didn't save Ning Lan. Ning Lan squeezes the girl's neck and asks why she was the one who survived. She offers to leave together. There will be no more torment in the kingdom of eternity. She would take her away from the endless nightmares. Chen Fei regained consciousness. She thinks that she is alive after all. And this is not the kingdom of eternity. That means the blade ghost didn't finish her off. It turns out that someone else is fighting him. It must be Meiju or Liang. We need to help them. Then she notices Qianye. She understands that his aura can be compared to that of their leader. She doesn't understand why his whole face is absorbed by the mask. The young man strikes the fourth blow. It was a very powerful attack. The hero released a black and white wave. It reminded the girl of something. Exactly. That was how he instantly defeated the faceless one. What a monstrous, destructive force. Qianye fell to his knees, breathing heavily. He started coughing. Masks began to come out of it. The ghost of the blade suggests that the blow was magnificent. But that was all he had left. If he hadn't hidden in the shadows at the last moment, there would have been nothing left of him. His mistake was deciding to fight here in the mortal realm. And in the realm of eternity, they would only be the embodiments of their souls, therefore, it would be easier to restore. But here, even if he puts on his mask, all he can rely on is his physical condition. But he is an S-level soul. And as long as he is alive, injuries of this level will recover in a few minutes. And even though he has touched the S level, he is still too weak and inexperienced. As a result, he simply could not withstand such a volume of divine power, and all efforts came to naught. There's also his attempt to absorb other people's masks. What despair. Of course, everything turned out very well for him, including this latest attack. If he had used it from the very beginning, his victory would have been guaranteed. But at this point, his luck ran out, and now it's time for him to give up his life.